So we're gonna continue with our next group of conversations. So who's coming now? We have Face Entrepreneurship, and what we're gonna talk about now is something really interesting, and it's about the pitching. It's the pitching and about the elevator pitch, but no one else to talk better about this. I would like to present to Carmen Cabalga, Won K. Mitchell, Wanderman, Hussein Kangi, Walton Ventures, and Nuno Coelho from Fullerton Ventures. So please, round of applause. Thank you very much.
Hello? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm obviously not all those amazing people. I am Blanca Rabina. I'm the coordinator of Face Entrepreneurship. And I just wanted to quickly introduce to you what Face Entrepreneurship is. Face Entrepreneurship is a communications campaign funded under the Horizon 2020 by the EU Commission. And we have a clear mission, which is to foster ICT entrepreneurship amongst young Europeans while we fight fear of failure. Because it turns out that 39.1% of young Europeans and aspiring entrepreneurs that want to start up won't because of fear of failure. And that's a big number. It's actually the biggest in the world. So what we're doing is through learning by sharing, through great experiences from other entrepreneurs, we are bringing to you their failures and how that failure became a success. And today, we have a very special treat because I'm going to hand off the microphone to my colleague, Ricardo, who will explain to you the amazing Kill the Elevator Pitch, which is a contest that we launched, and that we actually have with you today the amazing winners and investors. And I don't want to take up more time because you guys really want to hear what they have to say. So I want to welcome to the stage my colleague, Ricardo, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
Hello. Well, when we started with this project, we started to get feedback from everyone and how things were developing. So at a certain stage, we started considering that there was something key that needed to be done in order to help companies grow and projects enhance their opportunities of becoming successful. For this, we've decided to launch a competition in which the important thing was not the elevator pitch. In the end, we saw that it was very important to have people understanding the real aspects of having an investor and so on, also getting prepared to that relationship. So for that, we decided to launch a project in which we would choose 25 finalists, and out of them we would pick 3. But between picking the 25 and the 3, we put them through a mentorship program, and that would help them enhance their probabilities of becoming successful and also understand the truth about being an entrepreneur, because sometimes you have many people coming from technical backgrounds and missing that part of the business, of the business side of being an entrepreneur, that it's something that they really need to actually become successful. So we partnered with Mentoring Spain, and Mentoring Spain's director couldn't make it today, but he left a message, and the problem was that because of some technical issues, we could not have his message. But I'm gonna just say that he was very thankful, as much as I am, to all the mentors that took part in this project, and whose amazing support made possible that a lot of young people made a huge progress in their development. So without further ado, I want to introduce one of the winners of the contest, who is Carmen Cabalga. From IURI Science. She'll be telling you what she's done.
Hi. Here is Angel, Jimena, and Carmen, and we are the USFI team. We are the law firm of the future. It was a time when if somebody wanted to get a divorce, he had to consult with a lawyer personally. Things have changed. Are you going to get a divorce and you don't want the judge to decide for you? You are a jurisfier, and we have just what you're looking for, an app that will walk you through 5 simple steps to divorce you. What to do to get a divorce. First step, will go to yoursfi.com and you purchase one of the divorce plans. Second step, you download the app into your mobile or tablet. Third step, you fill the 5 simple screens of the USFI app to obtain your agreement. The fourth step, as you can see on the screen, well, now we are in the third step, you fill all your personal dates here about all the dates about the children, the alimony, and the collection of the agreement. If you have on the process any question, you will be able to consult with a lawyer with our video conference system. Everything will be recorded and will be available for the user to review when necessary. As well, we have a private chat between spouses to access at any stage in the process. All the information will be reviewed and validated by the other part and by USFI. The fourth step of the process will be to collect the signed agreement between the spouses. We will present the agreement into court. The fifth and last step will be to accompany you in court to have the agreement ratified. This is it. It's simple, it's easy, and it's fast. So be a USFier and you will not need loss. Thank you.
Now we're going to continue with Mitchell from Gmice. He has an amazing project, and now let's see if Mitchell has. Yeah, well, Mitchell has an amazing project that I think it's going to change how people exercise at gyms. So please give a warm welcome to Mitchell. Mitchell.
No, yeah. Okay, thank you all for being here, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mitchell. I'm from Amsterdam, and I am the founder of Gmice. And I'm here. Can you please put up the presentation? I would like to start off with a short story. About a year ago, I was inside my gym in Amsterdam, preparing for my next exercise, and all of a sudden, I realized that I was doing many of my exercises incorrectly, just like millions of other people in this world. And so the solution to this is a video analyzation. Yep. Just like many professional athletes do. But for us, it's too difficult, it's too expensive to do a video analysis every time you go to the gym. This is why I created Gmice. Gmice is the first app where you easily video record your workout in the gym through the GoPros that are already there. We partnered with GoPro, and we deliver them to the gyms so you can easily video record it. You swipe between the cameras, record it, and as you can see right here, you prepare for your exercises. And the great thing is, while you're doing the exercise, you're being filmed from multiple angles, which makes it so easy for you to just hit those marks and for you to progress, make progressions. So we improved by putting in features like slow motion, and in the video you can pull lines, draw lines for you to just hit the marks. The last part is, if you don't know how to improve, that you're just one click away from being connected to a personal trainer inside your gym. And he or she will respond to you via the app and give you advice. So the benefits for the gyms of implementing Gmice into their gym is really easy. First of all, it's a great way for them to interact with their customers. The personal trainers, it's really easy to give advice to their customers. Second of all, it's a great way to innovate their business. And lastly, we all know how we always post videos and images on social media. This is great customer marketing for them. So it's our mission to improve training for people all over the world through video. And how we're going to do that, how we're going to make money out of this, is fairly easy. The gyms pay upfront a Gmice box for 300 euros per box, containing 2 GoPros. They self-install this inside their gym, and after that, They pay €1 per unique GymEyes user per month. And why did we do that? It's because normally they would invest thousands of euros into equipment and they have no clue whether it's being used. With us, they only pay for what is actually being used. So where are we now? We have an official partnership with GoPro. We tested the iOS app in a gym in Amsterdam and generated 109 users in 17 days. Next to that, by the end of the year, we're going to launch, and we have 20 customers, so 20 gyms in Amsterdam, ready for the launch. And right now, 40,000 euros has been invested by customers, by friends, by fools and family, you know it. And we still have 35K to raise. So I'd like to ask you, if you have any questions, if you would like to meet up, let's grab a coffee afterwards, and I'd love to meet you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Mitchell. Now I want to introduce our friends from PiggyTag. One. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, well, they're going to change the way people collect stuff and also the way they exchange those items.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I am here to sell you this rare, antique IKEA chair. You think it's a scam, don't you? But how would you know? Now you can with PiggyTag.
Have an item of sentimental or historical value? Would you purchase an antique if you knew it would increase in value over time? For example, would you know what something like this is worth? Well, now you can PiggyTag it. Just scan the physical tag and the item's description and history will show up. It's just that simple. And then, when you sell it, just add the new owner's email and the virtual tag is transferred along with the physical one. Need to know how much a similar item is worth? Just search on PiggyTag. We've designed a one-of-a-kind app that puts your entire collection in the palm of your hands. Now, the most important reason. Each item will improve its own pedigree the more it is traded. It increases its value with each new owner thanks to the transparency of the genealogy that has never existed until now. It's all for free. When you have a unique item, it's a story that matters. PiggyTag.
Good afternoon. My name is Juan Kim, founder, and I just want to introduce the first ever app for collectors. As you know, there's no app if you have a collection and you want to put it in the palm of your hand. And we have the essential functions here, which is scanning tags, creating a tag, like making a photo, actually creating a tag, and transferring the item, and keeping the inventory track. So which means that after your item has been traded away, you know exactly where it is because it will be traded along throughout its lifetime, and we can actually track that today. Now, you're probably thinking, all right, great, how do we make money? Well, just like Stefan's pitch in the beginning, how do you know whether Stefan is selling you some crappy story or not? Well, this is exactly how we make money, because when people start asking that, people will say, how I need a validation, I need accreditation. And therefore, we're going to use our existing user base for a P2P model, and who knows best but the collectors themselves. And in order to do that, they have to sign up for Pro membership. And on top of that, later, if they want to make money, they're going to have to join our m-commerce platform. So it's a backdoor way of getting onto the e-commerce sphere. But if you look here, what is the market opportunity, ladies and gentlemen? Right now, when we say technology for this space, it's mostly eBay and e-commerce companies. And they only represent 7% of a $57 billion marketplace. Well, if they're doing that, we're going to be targeting the other 93% because we actually work with the e-commerce people. And so we see a huge opportunity in this space. Now, how are we going to get our traction? Well, one of our key partners in the video you saw is actually the store of Julian Cohen, who is the star of Storage Wars, which is one of the top TV shows related to the antiques. And there are 330,000 viewers per episode. And so we think that when he uses it on his show, we think that it hits our target space really correctly. Now, what is the revolution here? We want people to think about collecting as an investment, not just as a hobby. And thus, by tagging it, it becomes an investment. And thus, we put an economic value to collecting it. It's not just a passion. So thus, consumables can become collectibles. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juan. Now, well, I want to center this part of the presentation on the aspects of the moment of truth in which the projects need to get money. And so for that, we have Nuno Coelho and Jose Incanchi. So please give them a warm welcome to the stage. Can you hold this? Okay, I think we don't need this. So, well, thank you guys for coming. Well, what we did with the winners of our contest was to give them the chance to spend 2 journeys working with top talent. First off, the first day it was with mentors, who some of them are here, and we are really thankful for that. It's been a great pleasure, and I'm sure all the entrepreneurs have actually will make a lot out of this experience. And the second part was working with real investors, mainly to get feedback. There's this part of the progress of an entrepreneur in which sometimes they need to see what an investor, especially at the early stages, can offer, which is mainly feedback in order for the entrepreneur to keep his feet on the ground. And so, first off, guys, I wanted to ask you, what are the most common mistakes that you've seen entrepreneurs make, and maybe apply to these or not, but in general terms, something that the audience can learn from?
Sorry. No.
I don't know if it's working. If you need, I have microphones for sure, so.
Okay, this is probably better. I think the biggest problem that we've always seen people make is not raising enough money to get to the next obvious milestone. So especially in Europe where money is a little bit more difficult to get, entrepreneurs tend to ask for the money that they think they can get access to, which is sometimes lower than what they actually need. And the problem is if you don't hit your milestones, you're halfway through the milestones, and you run out of cash, you're actually much, much, much worse off than you were at the very beginning, kind of just selling the idea. So you're much better off holding off and trying to get the right amount of money, even if it's at slightly lower valuations, so you can clear the milestones.
Well, okay. On my side, and as we discussed earlier, obviously we have slightly different approaches to what investing is. You're more on the VC side. I'm more patient, you know. But I think that that's a very good point because it goes across the kind of startups. It doesn't really matter if they are looking to be a billion-dollar company or not. But yes, most of them are afraid to ask what they really need, and then they end up hitting a brick wall halfway through it. That I agree. But then, I would also jump on how you live the idea. And I think that nowadays, what entrepreneurs fall into in the first year. It's this realm of fluffiness in which all of that they are thinking alone behind their laptops is the reality. And sometimes they lock themselves for 1 year or 6 months to develop the product. And once they get out there, the reality is different. They are either competitors or they missed competitors. So I think that it's both studying your idea very well before deciding to go ahead, and then having the feet on the ground and being sure of how much will be required to survive the first 18, 24 months.
The other thing that I would add is I think a lot of startup entrepreneurs...
I don't... Can you...
A lot of startup entrepreneurs try and outsource their work to other people. So none of us really enjoy cold calling, and we think by having money in the bank and then hiring a salesperson will be able to do the cold calling for us. The truth is, in the early days, you have to do all of the grunt work yourself. You can't outsource it to anybody. And we see this mistake constantly all the time. Once you figure out the machine, it's very easy to start hiring and have other people then pick up the work. But in the early days, you kind of have to do everything.
Do you guys think that the talent in Europe is comparable to the one in the States? Like people have, it's not, maybe the background is different, maybe the culture is different, but are European entrepreneurs well prepared for coping with the facts of the European market?
Well, obviously, because the other side of the Atlantic has a longer history, there's a different kind of preparation from all that community. But I don't think that Europe is lacking the technical resources. We have great universities. It's just harder to find them, but they are here. You know, it's.
I would say at the raw IQ level or at the idea level, Europe is on par with the US. People come up with ideas here all the time. I think that the US has the bigger advantage of having more money, so it throws more money at the problems. You could have built Uber anywhere in Europe. Anyone could have had the idea. I don't think you could have raised the first $1 billion in Europe. The talent shortage usually is not on the idea side. It's not after the first 2 employees or after the first 5 employees or after the first 20 employees. It's when you start getting to 50 employees, 100 employees, and you need to go to 1,000 employees or 10,000 employees. Then you start hitting capacity problems in Europe, not because there's a lack of talent, because there's a lack of management. So there's very few people who know how to build the machine or build the organization to go from 100 people to 10,000 people in Europe, just because you haven't seen that movie before nearly as many times.
Do you think that, especially at those stages, sometimes people in Europe are not able to think big, and maybe that's one of the problems, that they maybe are trying to slow it a little bit down and make sure that everything is maybe too structured and...
I think that's... This one? Any? Yep. So I think that that might actually be the fault of the European investors. I think that most of that, well, we have to try and coach a community. A community evolves and acquires a new dimension and understanding of the market. But for that, you need the strongest players to pass on that information. As Hussein was saying, there is no experience in building a company. But at the same time, if throughout all of these years of university and how you are taught in Europe, you are a bit pushed to think small and to be careful on giving the next step. Maybe that's too much of a Catholic influence, you know, I don't know, maybe. But there's this, I don't know if it's people being afraid or just not being on the mindset, not being used to think on something much bigger than life, bigger than, they have to believe that their idea can affect the world. And if you don't have that inner capacity, nobody will push it into you. You know, nobody will teach you that. And I think that this will be a sort of, well, it will take time. It will take time for us in Europe to think and embrace risk the same way that the Americans do. And I don't think that the investors in Europe do it.
I think the people who are founding the businesses are no different. They have just as much drive, just as much ambition, but Europe itself is a toxic environment. I think this is a place where you're born into wealth, and if you're born into wealth, you continue to have wealth. If you're not born into wealth, you typically don't make that much money, and the environment here drags you down. It lowers your ambitions. If you said to people, I'm going to go build the next $100 billion business here, and you did that in California, everyone would encourage you. I think here people would say that's pretty difficult. Are you really going to be able to pull it off? There's a big difference in attitude.
And what about the governments and how they influence on the ecosystem? Do you think that, given that, well, there are differences between countries, but again, you have almost some sort of common ground for everything. Do you think that in the end that, since it's affecting everyone at the same level, it's a factor that it doesn't matter, or do you think that it's a problem, how governments approach entrepreneurship?
Well, I cannot talk about all of the countries. I can talk about Portugal, Spain, Austria, and Belgium. And the governments are embracing entrepreneurship on a very different way. In Portugal, you've been having a tremendous movement throughout the last 2 to 3 years. In Austria, tremendous movement starting over the last 5 years or so. In Belgium, there's nothing. There's no support. Well, if you have an idea in Belgium, buy a plane ticket and fly somewhere else. So I think that you cannot generalize. I think that there are some good initiatives on the public sector, but as on everything on the market, if you depend on the public sector, it's a bad start.
The governments here are way more engaged than in America trying to stimulate entrepreneurship. The problem with the governments is they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they're mostly not run by the brightest people in the world. And they don't ask the bright people in the world either. So you tend to get a lot of really bad taxpayer money that's just wasted. The single biggest investor in venture in Europe is us as taxpayers. We're 40% of the aggregate capital of all the funds. And our yields on that for high-risk investing over a 10-year period is 1.1%. You know, that's shameful. I mean, that's terrible, terrible, terrible investing. But the government here really wants to stimulate the economy, so they want to keep throwing money behind these things, and they want to keep encouraging. Unfortunately, they're not always the right people to do this kind of stuff.
And what do you think would be the proper policies and the application of that philosophy towards entrepreneurs?
I mean, in an absence of this kind of stuff, you have to stimulate to some degree. I think there's a lot of stimulation right now on the R&D side. If you look at most of the interesting tech companies of the last 10 years, they're not R&D driven. There used to be an era in our industry where most of the next generation stuff came directly out of the R&D lab. Today, they're mostly generalized consumer services, or even if they're business services, they look like consumer services. So funding R&D programs to go and do R&D tax credits, et cetera, is trying to fund stuff that was relevant 10 years ago, not today. And so again, I mean, this is all easy stuff to figure out, but you have to caucus and get the right people. The UK government was reasonably okay about some of this stuff. They opened up immigration. If you didn't have a visa and you were a tech person, you could get into the UK really easily. And then, you know, a few months ago, they voted for Brexit, and now they want to kick us all out. So, you know, governments.
And what about getting to the practical aspect? What about validation? Well, at the contest, we've seen many projects, and some of them were beginning to validate their models. Others needed to set the approach to validate their ideas. Do you think there's a practical difference in that regard between the States and Europe?
How so? In validation processes?
Validation of the validation of the ideas, of the processes, of the user experience. I mean, you can go almost to every part of the product.
because there's more money in the US, there's also a lot more money that gets wasted. And so there are a lot more companies that never validate anything. Like my favorite application of this was there was a service in San Francisco where you can go to San Francisco and on your phone, you can ask for someone to pick up your car and park it for you. And they would charge you $5 an hour, and the max that they would charge you is 3 hours, and you could keep the car with them for 21 hours. A parking garage in San Francisco is about $40. So for $15, you could get $40 worth of value, and then whenever you're ready to go home, you can be in a totally different part of the city. You call up the app, and some guy drives your car over to where you are, and you go home, and you give him a small tip. You know, there is no function, there's zero way that this company could exist apart from the fact that it had tons of money that it was basically giving away to people like me. There was no validation whatsoever, right? The validation was, I'm going to sell a service for $40 and charge you $15, and obviously there's some traction. So money gets wasted all the time in America on dumb ideas like this. That doesn't happen nearly as much in the US because there's not that much money. But other than that, most startup entrepreneurs validate the same way. And I think the general advice for entrepreneurs is you have to show that your business is working so well that people want to line up and invest, because you're growing so fast that people want to put money behind you. And that's the level of validation that you should be able to show. If you do that, then fundraising is actually really straightforward.
Just like to add one slight thing on the validation side. How many times, in order for a startup to push for that validation, they change the product? Because you change price points, you change distribution channels just to try and get a number. And at the end of the day, it's a fake number. And you will be investing on something that will not be done again. The product will be sold on a different way with a different price point. So yeah, well, I agree. You know, there are validations that are throwing money out of a window.
I want to switch to one of for me, it's one of the most important aspects of a startup, which is the team. And as you have seen many projects in your hands, what do you think is the most important thing for an entrepreneur to keep its team together? You at a given certain point, you have to face the fact that you're working in something that it doesn't have an income, so you really are working on hope. So what's your experience, and what do you think keeps the team together, and what would be your advice to entrepreneurs?
If there was a good answer. Well, there are two things I like to see on someone. It's obviously the drive, but respect. If someone is a respectful person with drive, while pushing for the development of the product and the company, he will know how to deal with the stress that grows within the company. But this is a small thing. What are the best skills? Well, I really don't know. It's trying to understand and manage behavioral sciences. You know, it's play with the cards that you're dealt with. Look at the skills and see if they make sense or if they can be a risk. If a skill is a risk, I'll be away.
There are a few different ways to get people excited, right? One is you pay them a lot of money, but you can't do that as a startup, right? You don't have that much money. You could set up a really great culture, and to be fair, a lot of startups end up actually doing that, but that doesn't come from day one. So you're building towards the culture, but you won't have a great culture to rival any other culture. Or you sell people on the people that they're working with. So if the people are top-notch, most people who are really bright like working with other people who are also really bright. In fact, one of the reasons why people don't like working for big companies, and governments are a good example of this, is because you're not working with the brightest people in the world, so it's boring, right? So you don't get to stretch yourself. It's nice to be in an environment where you're working with other really, really smart people. And then you get people excited about the vision or about the person who's running the company. These are the kind of tools that you have, and the one easy tool, which is just paying people a lot of money, is the one tool that you don't have as an early stage company. So if you set those other things up correctly, if you're working on something really interesting, the other people in the company are also really interesting, and then the founder has a lot of respect, and is someone that you want to work for, you can attract really good talent. It's not easy, but it's kind of job one of the entrepreneur, right? To be able to build a team, because if you could just build everything by yourself, life would be a lot easier.
There's this aspect of I'm getting back to the validation part, but now I think there's not so much hype around crowdfunding, but what's your opinion about crowdfunding, and what do you think entrepreneurs can get out of it? Do you think it's a way of validating the concept?
It's free money. Free dumb money usually, right? So the Kickstarter stuff is basically people paying you for a product that doesn't exist, and the equity crowdfunding stuff is really cheap capital from people who are very unsophisticated, which the regulators, at least in the UK, have allowed you to basically take money from. In America, you can't do it just yet.
You have...
Hello, yeah. So, not really nothing to add. I was about to use the same expression. It's free money. It's fantastic for entrepreneurs. It's tremendous. Now, what they do with the money afterwards, that has been a recurrent problem.
Most of the successful crowdfunding stuff is less about your pitch and your product. It's about the marketing, and it's about marketing your product. So it's getting things active on social media, etc. And then it's showing that your product has momentum. It seems like almost everyone on the crowd is the crowd. So when the crowd goes a certain way, a lot of people follow. And so if you can show that the crowd is going a certain way, you tend to top up. So usually there's a lot of engineering behind the scenes about kind of manufacturing the first 20 or 30%. So you go to people, you say, don't give me the money just yet. Wait until day one of the crowdfunding, then put the money in. All of a sudden, things start they look like they're taking off, and then the crowd behaves like a dumb crowd and starts giving you lots of free money.
Okay. Well, I don't know if we have any doubts. Anything that you would like to ask Hossein and Nuno? Okay. Okay.
Hi, very straightforward question. Do you do seed? Seed funding?
I do.
Okay. Thanks.
We couldn't hear you, I think. Could you guys understand it?
The question was, do we do seed funding? And I said I do. And
okay, that's an easy question. Okay. Well, I don't know. How long do we have left? Are we okay with time? Is it okay with time? Okay. Well, I would like to thank also like to thank Julio Rodriguez, who finally came here, and so I would like to call him to the stage because he's been a huge part, and please. He's been a huge part of the project. He supported this from day one and believed in the project, and he had the chance to see many projects. So I want to ask you, what's your approach to mentoring, and how do you think a mentor helps on developing an idea?
Yeah, the first of all is thank you very much for being here. And thank you very much as well for the mentors who were the protagonists as well of this event, because they help the entrepreneurs, without generously, without spending their time. The process we follow is very simple. We identify the needs that the entrepreneurs had, and then we assign a mentor of a team of mentors for helping that entrepreneur in that specific things they need. In mentoring in Spain, la Red de Mentores de España, we have more than 300 mentors, and we have been supported for the last 5 years, at least 100 projects. Then mentoring is very easy because everybody has experience, visions, and has a lot of things to share. But the difficulty in these cases is identify that needs that person who has the knowledge or the experience or even the contact that can help the entrepreneurs in this project.
Okay, thanks. So, well, I think that's all, and I would like to thank everyone who has been involved in this project. The investors, Nuno, Hussein, well, they've been incredibly supportive, as well as Julio, all our team of mentors, and all the entrepreneurs. It's been amazing. It's something that we would like to insist that in the end, it's not only about the money. Okay, the entrepreneurs need to understand that there are certain things that you don't know, and that whenever you need to ask for help, that's the most important thing to do, and that there is plenty of people that are willing to help you. And sometimes the most precious thing you can get is just advice, not money, because if you're making mistakes and you have money, you just want to waste it. So I highly encourage you to ask for help, look for projects like this, and initiatives that really support the entrepreneurs. So thank you very much for coming, and that's all.